Today I will be talking about an effective instructional strategy and how educators integrate it into their classrooms in order to increase student achievement. Today's classroom have become the melting pot of all modern day society. Classrooms are filled with students from all walks of life. Their differences include race, religion, learning readiness, personal interest, socioeconomic status, and the list goes on and on. With this magnitude of diversity, students will no longer benefit from the traditional one size fits all way of teaching. Let's begin by defining differentiated instruction. It is a student centered instructional approach to learning where teachers design multiple pathways to content, process, and product to address individual learning differences. Carolyn Tomlinson refers to differentiated instruction as multiple routes to accomplishing specified goals. Carolyn and Gwen regards it as a process of selecting from multiple paths. In other words, students have the freedom to choose the learning path that suits their individual needs. Both concepts were validated by a quote from my high school geometry teacher, Mr. Fleming. He proclaimed that all roads lead to Hart County. This philosophy had a positive impact on my personal learning experience as a student and is one that I incorporate in my instruction as a teacher today. So why differentiate? With this approach, number one, students are given choices, options, and a variety of instructional strategies to help them learn. Research advises that a variety of classroom strategies enhances students' motivation and decreases discipline problems. Number two, students with different interests have opportunities to explore those interests. Number three, their readiness and learning styles are incorporated into instruction. Studies show that students whose learning styles are accommodated would achieve 75% of a standard deviation higher than their peers whose learning styles are not accommodated. Number four, grading is not a one-size-fits-all system. Researchers recommend that grades should be determined from various sources of evidence rather than calculated in a purely quantitative manner. Number five, the classroom will harbor a community of fairness, respect, and safety. In a differentiated classroom, teachers seek out, affirm, and draw on the unique abilities of each learner. As a result, individual perspectives are acknowledged, positive attitudes increase, and behavioral problems decrease. Another reason to differentiate instruction is that Georgia Department of Education deems it effective. The Georgia Department of Education states that effective teachers differentiate instruction, individualize for student needs, abilities, and preferences in the classroom, design instruction that motivates each student, deliver lessons with variety, and communicate content in such a way that students are able to comprehend. Best practices indicate that teachers differentiate these three pathways according to student readiness and preference, using content, process, and product. In content, what do we want our students to know? How is the content made available to them? In process, what do we want our students to be able to do? What processes do teachers use to facilitate their learning? And in the product, how do students demonstrate what they have learned? What do we want them to create? Teachers differentiate content through scaffolding, chunking, jigsaw, graphic organizers, and the time method. The picture is an example of the time method. It breaks down the vocabulary words into three parts. The T represents the term, the I represents the information or definition, and the E represents an example, drawing, or picture. During the process phase, differentiation takes the form of flexible groups, learning centers, literature circles, stations, and tiered activities. These small groups provide incentives to learn based on students' individual interest and current level of understanding. And in the product phase, students are allowed to express what they know through tiered products, creative stories, presentations, portfolios, and integrated technology. And here's an example of how the skeletal system is broken into three different products. Number one is a drawing. The next one is creating a model with pasta. And the third product is assembling a cutout worksheet. So where does differentiation start? It starts with the end in mind and then working backwards to develop curriculum and instructional goals through a process called understanding by design. As a team, understanding by design and differentiated instruction use performance standards and various assessment tools to provide structures for developing curriculum and instruction based on student readiness. This is an assessment data chart that our grade level lesson planning team uses, constructed around the Common Core and Georgia performance standards. Pre and post assessments are scheduled before the start and at the end of each unit. Pre-assessment scores from students are tallied and documented on the data chart. Next, the data is differentiated into 4 groups: proficient, close, far to go, and not likely. The tallies are calculated to form a SMART goal. This information is instrumental in determining student readiness and the accommodation of their differences across content, process, and product. Assessment data is essential to our ongoing instructional process. The following is just a little peek into how this data looks in our classrooms.